Yeah, I mean, like having these conversations brings back so many memories of like, you know, the best moments of your life. Like you go, it's very exposing. Is track racing. Imagine the home Olympics. There's 100 million people watching on TV. It's the 4 minutes that's going to potentially change your life, and everyone's going to watch you have the best day of your life or the worst day of your life. And of course, when you get it right and you stood on top of the podium with three of your best mates, like there's no drug you can take, there's no amount of money you can make that will make you feel like that. I really believe that. And of course, when you get it wrong, like you said, if you mess up, like you've been on a tandem, I've been in a team pursuit, you don't just let yourself down, you let all your teammates down, you let all the people that have come out to cheer you down. And yeah, it's crushing. It breaks you, and it's you're so exposed.
Did life change after Beijing? Because you've the whole, like, especially British media, for anyone who's not British, like, we don't get the same media here in Ireland. The British media is intense, whether it's on the royal family or it's on sport, for good and bad. It really shines a spotlight on people.
Yeah, I'm going to answer that in two different ways. In sort of mechanical terms, yes. Like, you start making more money, you start being recognised a bit, particularly as the approach to home Olympics comes, particularly after the home Olympics. And in the mechanical sense, yeah, your life does change, and it's my whole life's taken a different route thanks to a couple of key moments early on, right? But I think this is the biggest misconception: is that like a feeling of success or a feeling of that change isn't at all what you'd think. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a little bit. I spoke to Kelly Holmes, or Dame Kelly Holmes, on this, and she almost felt a little bit trapped by the success. Especially she'd a complicated relationship with her own sexuality, and she was just trying to discover that in the glare of the British media, and she felt trapped in an old version of a story she told and didn't have a freedom to retell her new story.
The, from my perspective, I feel like I had this idea that you were going to become upon this thing that was going to like bestow upon you all the wisdom and knowledge and happiness and everything you needed to feel complete and done, right? But the reality is that humans are not wired to be happy with things you've achieved in the past. We're just not, right? And yeah, the best way I can describe it, which has been described to me by psychiatrists, therapists, and so on, is that like physically our bodies have this thing called homeostasis, right? So if me and you go out tonight, we have 12 pints, we'll have a good time, we'll have some happy hormones fly around our body, and then to super compensate, we'll sleep for 24 hours. We'll feel pretty rough, and then your body sort of self-regulates. The mind does exactly the same. So this has been well studied in lottery winners, funnily enough. You win the lottery, and overnight, people are dead happy. They've got everything they've ever wanted. They've got a big mansion, they've got a Bentley, you've got a helicopter, and so on. And after a period of 6 to 18 months, almost everyone comes back down to the same baseline of happiness that they started at. Same's true for when a tragic event happens. You lose a loved one, something terrible happens. 6 to 18 months, you always have this like mental homeostasis. You turn back to where it started. And it was just like that for winning the Olympics. And every single time we won an Olympics, I'd give it 6 to 12 months. I was like, right, well, I'm not really living on a big high anymore. This is just life. You self-regulate. So what do? You think, oh, maybe I'd be happy if I won a second one. Maybe I'd be happy if I won a third one. Maybe I'd be happy if I won a fourth one. And then, you just about get to the point where I'm 40 now and you kind of realize, well, maybe that's not the key.
Yeah, it's I see this with outside sport as well, with friends who've had big exits from companies, and the advice they've given me is you need to be happy to begin, because if you're not happy right now, no event is going to change that happiness. You get the 8-figure exit, amazing. You sit on a beach for 4 weeks with someone feeding you grapes, and then you wake up on the 5th week and you're like, get those grapes away from me. Like, I need to just get back to being a normal person. And then it's like it never happened.
Yeah. I think, mate, I'm exactly the same. I've done a few corporate bike rides and things, and the amount of business people I've met that they tell these wild stories about where they've come from and like what they've built up, and then they sold it. And then, it took them only a matter of weeks, maybe a month or two, to realize that they were actually more depressed than they'd ever been. And that's what I love about bikes. I think bikes, the great outdoors, the simple act of putting one foot in front of the other and experiencing nature, it saves people. I've literally met business people that, would, in their words, cycling saved their life. I like that.
But that's why you need to be, and I guess this is maybe my lesson for anyone junior that's starting that process now. You need to be careful in the process that you don't totally build a moat around yourself and alienate yourself. Because when you finish the event and you go back to normal life, you need to have mates, you need to have family relationships. Michael Phelps, for me, is, the greatest Olympian of all time statistically. And if you listen to him talking about having suicidal thoughts, it's like I think his quote was, if you're the most successful Olympian of all time, but you've no one to celebrate it with, is it still success? Hey everybody, let's take a quick break to talk about the bike I'll be riding this season, Reap. I've been lucky enough to ride all the top brands in the world over the past few years, but these Reap bikes, they're not the same, and I'll tell you why. Reap is the first company I've seen that isn't chasing sales targets and the mass market. They're chasing something very rare, perfection. Every bike they make, it's crafted in the UK factory, and it's not about slapping a Made in Britain label on a bike from a Chinese factory. It's about control. From the first sketch to the final build, they're hands-on, ensuring that every detail is dialed in. That's very rare in an outsourced world of mass production. What sets them apart is innovation. While others pump out the same old designs, Reap's pushing boundaries. They're not following trends, they're setting trends. Think precision and performance, like an F1 car for the road. Absolutely no compromises. And it shows, and you can feel it when you ride the bikes. These bikes are built for riders who demand the best, whether they're chasing podiums or just want a machine that feels like an extension of your body, a piece of art. It's not hype, it's substance. Ride a Reap for yourself and you're riding something crafted with intent. So if you're serious about cycling, check them out. It's reapbikes.com. I absolutely love my one and I couldn't recommend it highly enough. Back to the show.